Everybody, welcome to another video. Still in the Lake District at the moment, more specifically, this is Wastwater. We're over on the Scree side at the moment, so we're sort of looking out, basically where the sun is, it's sort of picking out some shapes over there. Just want to have a bit of a chat about using foreground material and when it works and when it doesn't, and what my sort of general rule of thumb is. Where we're at the moment, like I say, got a great gable up there. There's some really nice sort of background scenery, so your backgrounds are given. You can drop your camera and get a great shot, but when's it good to use a foreground, when's it good not to use a foreground? So go sort of find a couple of examples and so we can see, and so I can point some bits out for you. So along this stretch of the water, you're almost sport for choice. You've got a bit of a sort of rocky bank with some mossy areas, a few little trees in the background there. You've got a bit of a fence that runs out into the water. There's a random stick that sticks out of the water just there. But with how commanding the background is, you need something that's quite strong to actually sort of tie it in. Now, just down by that tree there, there's a couple of rocks. That facing the other way, if I just spin you around here, looking down that way, it's not quite as strong. That means you can actually sort of balance it out with the foreground. What you don't want to do is sort of have this massively strong background, so you've got epic light, big clouds, moodiness, and then have a really strong foreground, because the idea is the foreground sort of leads you into the scene. If you've got something that's too strong in the background, the foreground has to be almost excessively strong to balance the image, otherwise it just looks like, well, you've just left something in the way. So it's all about sort of picking it out. I mean, I'll try and do a quick shot here, looking that way, because actually someone just wandered down there in a red coat. I'm going to try and get it before they actually pop into view. But I'll do a quick shot now, showing you what I mean with actually having pretty much zero foreground, just leading you up. I'm actually using this shoreline to actually just lead us across. You got the tree there, and there's a great gable in the background. So I'll pop that up now for you. Test by my normal sort of routine when I'm out and about. It's bright enough to just stick the ISO at 200. Generally just stick at f8, so most of the things are sort of fairly well in frame, that sort of focus sort of a couple of metres in front of you all the way to the back, and so just let the shutter speed sort itself out. At the minute it seems to be picking about 1/250th of a second. But yeah, you don't always need to have the foreground elements in place. Sometimes it works brilliantly, it helps the scene, it leads you through the image, but if you've got a strong leading line or a really epically strong background, it can be a little bit too distracting. Another thing as well, if you're picking something out that's not necessarily sort of massively strong, but you've got a bit of detail that would really sort of work as a main focal point, you don't need to worry about like your foreground, your middle and back. Concentrate on that and even sort of zoom in on that area. It can really make the image stand out. And if you start messing around with, even sort of going to black and white, really moody, it can make the image really come alive. We've had quite a lot of sort of low cloud and sort of rain coming across this morning. So pop my image up now. This is one I've taken actually looking up at Scaffold Pike, and it looks absolutely brilliant in the flesh, but after the process I think this is actually going to come out really nicely. Again, as the rain's just started coming down, when you've got things like a nice strong tree like that to use as a foreground element, don't go right close to it, come a little bit further away. You can actually use that to lead you in. Ideally you can get high enough to actually look down on the tree, but it's not always possible to do that, but it still works to sort of lead you into the image. Another one, dry stone wall, use that as a leading point into the image. Doesn't always work, depends on what's around it as well, so you can have a lovely leading line that just leads to nowhere, but yeah, sometimes you can actually make them work. But yeah, bit of rain coming out at the minute, but I'm going to head around, sort of coming down towards the Screes and see what else pops up. So sometimes in woodland you tend to find that you can't really pick out very much of a foreground. I apologise, it's a bit windy at the moment. Normally you have to sort of pick out shapes. Occasionally you can get a nice foreground from it, but a lot of it is difficult in the woodland environment. Landscape is a lot easier to actually sort of pick out a defined sort of foreground, midground and background, but occasionally you do get the ones where it doesn't quite come off. It can look amazing, but you just can't pick out the scene. Handily, this wall leads down to a bit of a fence into the water there, a couple of rocks, looking out over the nice scenery there, and that actually works quite well. Just heading into the area where the sheep are, and it's still raining at the moment, so I can't really sort of point you too far that way because I'll just get covered in rain. But some lovely moody clouds coming across and little hints of light, and I'll try and get a shot off at looking out towards Great Gable with a fairly strong foreground tree. I think it almost kind of works. It's not great composition, but it sort of gives you the points that if you're going to have something that's a very strong background, you need quite a strong foreground to sort of counterbalance it. But yeah, pop that up now, let me know what you think. Now, and here's that view down the valley. So you've got your two rocks down there. Not quite so strong a scene, but something that's quite pretty. So, lining yourself up, give yourself a bit of breathing space. Come down. There's a little bit of foreground for you. Lovely tasty background. Nice mood in the sky. Lovely bit of light. And it balances it out quite nicely. Now, it's a shame that the water's a bit choppy, but there's not really a lot we can do with that. It's quite a windy day. But yeah, works nicely. Gives you a nice bit of balance. And yeah, I think it looks alright. I'll put the shot up now for you. And sometimes, just like that, you don't need a foreground at all. The hills in the background form these lovely sort of shallow leading lines. You've got a little bit of reflection, not as much as with light, but the wind's a little bit too much for it. The clouds are looking quite grumpy, it's quite nice, can pull some lovely detail from it. And yeah, with that sort of thing, because there's not a lot of light hitting it, yeah, a black and white edit would be absolutely perfect. There you go, short and sweet, just a couple of little examples while we're up here. What I'm looking for when I'm out and about. Like I say, I'm no wonderful landscape photographer. It's just not really my sort of expertise area, shall we say. But I do like to sort of pick out a few bits and bobs. Occasionally you'll get everything that just comes into play just absolutely perfectly. But the key is being able to sort of pick stuff out that, you know, it's quite pleasing to the eye. That's the key to it with photography, and the key to it as well, you're not doing it for anyone else other than yourself, really, unless you're doing it professionally. You know, the idea is you're taking it for fun, to get some enjoyment from it and get some nice shots that you think, yeah, quite proud of that, it's quite nice. Gonna keep on wandering around, take a few shots, I'll pop a couple up at the end now, keeping an eye on the light as it's sort of coming around, see if anything actually sort of pops out, but it might not. But if the video's been useful and you've enjoyed it, please give us a thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed, please do hit the subscribe button. It really helps out no end. And if you sort of have enjoyed it, you want to see a bit more, hit the notification bell. YouTube will tell you each time I release a new video. It's normally sort of every week, so yeah, go carry on wandering, get a few more shots on, pop a few up now for you. But thanks for watching, we'll see you again next time. Take care.
In my conscience, am I too far gone? Does the good